Hey everyone, welcome here, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the song Chop Suey by System of a Down, diving deep into John Dolmayan's drum parts. And we're sitting behind the Toxicity tribute kit we built for the genius of Chop Suey. So we're going to break down how John played all these iconic drum parts on the same setup that he used in the studio for this album. So right now we're going to start with probably the most famous drum part of the song, and that's the tom intro we hear right at the beginning. So until preparing for this video, I actually thought that John was playing this right-hand lead, just moving around the drums from left to right. But after watching a bunch of videos, I did realize that John's actually playing this part left-hand lead. So it's a little bit more difficult to play than I thought at first. And we're gonna break this down really slowly so you can start playing this at home. And right now, I just wanna start with the sticking pattern that John's playing. And we wanna play this just on the snare drum and with the kick drum playing on quarter notes. So let's try that right now. So now that we've got the pattern happening in the hands, we want to move this over to the toms. And we're using all 4 toms on this side of the kit. I will just mention that in the very first bar of this intro, there's one rhythmic difference in the first beat, as well as John plays the 14-inch tom instead of the 18-inch floor tom. It's a really subtle detail, but something to note. And then in the 7th bar of the intro, he also moves to the last floor tom in the very last note before the build-up. So just keep that in mind when you're learning the entire intro, but we're gonna isolate just the main pattern here. So right now, let's try this slowly together. Here's the main intro. And now let's try this a little bit quicker. Here it is. And now let's bring this up to album tempo. You're really gonna be flying around the kit left-hand lead now. So let's try that out now. Now moving to the next section, out of the tom groove, we end up with an open hi-hat groove. We're gonna be emphasizing a quarter note pulse, so really lean into those accents. We're gonna be playing the snare with full-on rim shots, so they're really loud and powerful, and we also have some syncopation on the kick drum. This is a 2-bar phrase that happens throughout this section, so let's try it out slowly now. And now let's try this a little bit faster. Now let's bring this up to album tempo, really lean into those quarter note accents on the open hats. Powerful snare drum, let's go. Now we're into the verse section, and this is where things get a little bit weird. This is probably the only song I can think of that has this type of groove in it. So we're playing at the beginning of every bar, 1E, 3E and a 4E and a 1E, 3E and a 4E and a 1E. So we're going to be playing the 1E along with the kick drum, so that really punches through, and we're going to be closing the hi-hats on the E of beat 1. Now when we're playing those 16th notes on the hi-hats, I always try to play this with the shoulder of the drumstick so you get a really nice full sound. So let's try this together now at a slow tempo. And let's try this a little bit faster. And now let's try this at album tempo. Really lock in those kick drums on the 1E. We really want to make sure those are tight and locked in. Now we're moving ahead to the chorus section, and this is where we move into a halftime feel. So I think probably by now you're noticing that there's a whole bunch of different feel changes where John's drumming is really unpredictable, and you're never really sure what's going to come next in the song. And I think that's something that's so cool about John's drumming on this particular song. Now, because we're in a halftime feel, our snare drum's going to be played on beat 3. That's what's going to define the halftime feel in this case. And to practice this, we've taken just an excerpt from the middle of the second chorus where we can practice all of the bass drum ideas that happen in all the choruses in the song. So let's try that now at a slow tempo. And now let's try this a bit faster. And lastly, let's bring this up to full speed. The next section we're looking at is actually a 1-bar section that happens right before the start of verse 2. We're playing a traditional blast beat here. Our kick and open hi-hat are going to be locked in unison, and we're going to be alternating those with backbeats on the snare. So we're basically just alternating like this. Now when I'm playing this, because it's at a faster tempo, I always try to bring my right hand out here to the edge of the hi-hat, and that way your hands aren't crossing. If your right hand is right over top of your snare drum, sometimes you'll be clicking sticks. So just moving your hands so they don't cross each other is a nice little hack to get through this groove because it's really quick. So let's try this at a slow tempo. And now let's try this a little bit faster. And now let's try this fully up to speed. Here we go. Now we're going to jump ahead to the guitar solo section, and once again we have another feel change. We're moving into a double time feel. So instead of playing the snare on beats 2 and 4, which is regular time, or the snare on beat 3, which is half time, we're moving to playing the snare on every offbeat, so on all the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So in this section we're going to be doing that while playing on the hi-hats. We're going to keep them open like we've done at a lot of other sections in the song. And this is kind of a punk feel. So let's try this together at a slow tempo. And let's try it a bit faster now. And now we're going to try this at album tempo, and make sure when you're playing this, we're still playing rim shots on the snare. We really want that to cut through the mix. So let's try that now. And the last section we're going to look at is the bridge of the song. And this part's really cool because once again, we're dealing with some grooves that we haven't played at any other point in the song yet. So we're going to be looking at the first 8 bars of the bridge, and in the first 4 bars, we're playing a groove once again on the open hi-hats. We have some accents on the downbeats, on the China cymbal, and also on the splash. And something that's unique about John, often when drummers will go to play big crash cymbals where you would probably expect that, John will sometimes change it up and he'll actually play a really small cymbal. So something unique about his playing style that we get to see in this song. So that's the first 4 bars, again playing on the open hi-hats. And in the second half of this part, we're moving over here to the crash cymbal. We're going to be riding on the crash, and we're also going to be involving the left hand with some crash cymbal accents as well, about halfway through this part. So it's kind of cool. We're moving from open hi-hats to big washy sections. So let's loop that a few times at a slow tempo right now. And let's try this a little bit faster. And finally, let's bring this up to album tempo. Here it is. If you enjoyed this play-to-learn style of lesson, come join us in the Musora app where we have lots more lessons like this with drummers like Chad Smith, Ellis DePario, 66 Samus, Domino Sant'Antonio, myself, and tons of other instructors. On the app, you can track your practice history, you'll earn streaks to stay accountable, and you'll join over 100,000 students who are improving on their instrument every single day. You can try out your first week free at the link below, and I hope to see you there.